Hi you guys, I am Tisha Marie. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, thank you so much for tuning in today. I have got a good one for you, girl. If you are a returning subscriber, first of all, thank you so much for subscribing. And second, thank you for tuning back in today. As you guys can see by the title below, today we are going to be reviewing a Pat McGrath item and I'm so hype about it. So today we are going to be reviewing the Pat McGrath Mothership Mega Celestial Divinity eyeshadow palette. This is the one right here. This palette just released for holiday 2020. There are quite a few more items that Pat McGrath plans on releasing with the holiday 2020 collection, but this mega eyeshadow palette just happens to be the first. You get 18 eyeshadows in here for $78. I mean, I don't want to talk too much, you guys. This is the look that I created with the palette. Let's go ahead and get into some swatches, my first impressions, and the review. I am going to chop this video up. I'm going to leave the timestamps in the description box, so if you only want to skip right ahead to me using the palette or skip right ahead to the final review, you can look down in the description box, click on that part that you want to skip to, and it'll take you right to that. I'm hoping that you'll stay here with me the entire time and watch my full review, because don't you want to see it, girl? I know you want to see it. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this review. All right, guys, so today we're going to be reviewing the Pat McGrath Mothership Mega Celestial Divinity eyeshadow palette. So I just received this in the mail. I already have my skin prepped and everything ready to try this out for you guys. This is going to be my first impression and review of this palette. So I hope you guys are excited as I am, because this is my very first Pat McGrath item and I've heard nothing but good things about her eyeshadows. Let's go ahead and get into it. So this is how the outside of the palette looks. The back of the palette has all of the names of the eyeshadows on there. And then when you open the palette, it looks like that. And it does have the mirror in it, which is great. But this is how all of the eyeshadows look. So let's go ahead and get into some swatches of this palette. So to swatch, what I'm going to do is start with the top row and I'm going to move from left to right. And these are the top row of the swatches. So this first one is Saturnalia, Bronze Nebula, Major Mahogany, Lunar Champagne, Violet Void, and Gold Standard. So now I'm going to swatch the second row. Second row of swatches, this is Venomous Void, Odyssey, Fuchsia Shock, Megabyte, Bronze, and Electron. That's how the first and the second row of swatches are looking. All right, so third row, this is Cosmic, Smoked Amethyst, Dragonfly, Venetian Orchid, Galactic Gold, and Corruption. So these are all of the swatches together. I had to use both of my arms because there are so many shades in this palette. So it has 18 eyeshadows in the palette. And my first impressions on these swatches is that they are absolutely beautiful. I love that quite a few of the shades do have a really pretty shift. And if you turn it one way, it looks one color, but if you look at it another way or in a different light, it looks a completely different color. I love that. That's really pretty. The glitters in them are amazing. They're spectacular. They swatched really easily. I didn't have to dig into any of the colors. The only one that I had an issue with was this one here, which is the Venetian Orchid. So that's this light pink matte shade. That was the only one that I had an issue with. The other two mattes here did swatch really easily. But I feel like you can pack this one and get the color payoff that you're looking for. So now I'm going to go ahead and get into a look to see how it performs on the eyelid. So let's go ahead and get into a look. Okay, so because I love a good purple eyeshadow look, I'm going to be using 3 shades today, so this will be an easy look for you guys to recreate. And the shades that I'm going to be using are Venomous Void, Violet Void, and Smoked Amethyst. I absolutely had to use Smoked Amethyst because that color is so gorgeous and it stood out the most to me when I swatched it, as well as Violet Void, which is this one here. First, I'm going to go in with the Venomous Void, which is the the matte maroon shadow. Okay, so this is how we're looking with Venomous Void, just blended through the crease. That is how it looks. And next I'm going to go in with Smoked Amethyst on my outer corner. All right, so this is how we looked with Smoked Amethyst, like blended out as a smoky eye in my outer lid and a little tiny bit in the crease. All right, so I did go back in with Venomous Void, and which is the matte shade, and I kind of put it back on my crease. So now I am going to go in Violet Void on my lid. Maybe I'll go in a little bit. So I'm gonna go in a little bit first with Smoked Amethyst with my fingers, and then I'm gonna go in with Violet Void. Now I'm just taking my small little shadow brush and putting Violet Void on like my inner corners of my lids. I don't want it to be like too shimmery, just like a wash of shimmer. All right, so now I'm gonna go off camera, put on some lashes, get my hair fixed, put a lip on, and I'll be back to give you guys a full-on review. All right, you guys, so this is my finished look and I'm obsessed. So I'm going to get a little closer, maybe try to zoom in so you guys can see it. So I hope that you guys can see it as good as I can see it in person. I mean, obviously you can't because shadows always look far better in person than they do on camera. I think that you guys get the gist of it. These are my final thoughts on the Pat McGrath Mothership Makeup Celestial Divinity palette. First of all, that's a mouthful to say. Where do I start? Okay, let's start with the pigmentation. The pigmentation of every single last one of these shadows did not disappoint. You can tell that these are like luxury products. How they perform with a brush, how they perform with a finger, like it really doesn't matter how you put them on because the products are going to perform. I noticed that when I used my finger, they went on super well. I didn't have to like keep going back into the same color over and over to get the color payoff that I want. In fact, I found that I probably went in a little too hard and I literally just did like that with the shadows. I didn't press in really hard or anything. And when I just like tapped it onto my eye, it was on, girl. Pigment was coming on strong. It performed amazingly using an eyeshadow brush. I didn't find myself having to like keep going back into the palette to get the color payoff that I wanted either. All of the shades they outperformed all of my other eyeshadow palettes. I'm just gonna be real with y'all. They blended beautifully, even with my finger. It was not hard to blend them at all. In fact, when I was blending like this middle purple shade here with the Smoked Amethyst out here, I was finding that what I had already placed on my lid was like literally melting back into my finger and just melt together like butter. Like they're just so good, you guys. I have not experienced eyeshadows like these before, and to be quite honest with you, I was a little bit afraid that the quality of the eyeshadows were not going to be up to, I'm not going to say up to my standard because I've never used Pat McGrath eyeshadows before, but I was afraid that they weren't going to perform on like that super duper high level because this palette has 18 shadows and it's only $78 compared to her palettes that have like 10 or 12 shadows that are $125. So I'm like, this is probably gonna be like a cheaper palette. I'm gonna get it anyway, and I'm just gonna see. As far as the actual packaging of the product, I don't really have a real issue with it. I do love that she did list the names on the actual palette because we know some palettes don't do that. So it'll be easy to follow along with like what I did today with the tutorial. I can tell you guys the names of the shadows very easily as I'm putting the look together. So I do love that the names are on the back. I think the packaging on the front is really cute, and it has like these little ribbons here on the side. I honestly don't know what the purpose of that is, but personally, I like to be able to like fold my palette back onto itself, but I wouldn't be able to do that with this palette because of the ribbons. But I do love that it includes a mirror. Now I can say that this part here does feel just a little bit cheap for what I expect from Pat McGrath. We all know that it's a luxury palette. If you're like me and you've never purchased any Pat McGrath items before, then I would say that Mothership Makeup Celestial Divinity palette is going to be a great first Pat McGrath item for you. You get 18 shadows. What more can you ask for? If you want to try Pat McGrath out for the first time, definitely pick up this eyeshadow palette. Yeah, try this one out before you spend $125 on one of the larger palettes, or even before you spend $65 on only 4 eyeshadows, because this one is going to give you way more bang for your buck. 18 shadows versus 4 for almost the same price. You really can't beat that. You guys, that's it for my review. If you guys have any questions about this palette, the shadows, or anything, please leave your questions down below in the comment section and I will be sure to answer them for you as soon as possible. If you picked up this palette too, let me know what you think about it down in the comment section, because I'm really interested to know if you loved it as much as I love it. I honestly can't wait to use it again. I feel like I could use this palette all throughout the fall, the winter, and I can even use it in the summertime and the springtime too. Hopefully by then we'll be out of quarantine. If you've watched this entire video, thank you so much for watching the entire video, because I know this was a bit of a long one, but it was worth it, right? So you might as well go ahead and click on that subscribe button. Make sure your post notification bell is turned on and give this video a like. I will see you guys next time. Bye.